Hi everyone, thank you so very much for joining me. My name is Kassandra, and today I'll be guiding you through what I'm calling a slow and mellow yoga practice. So this is really meant to be a yoga class that will help you access every little part of your body in a way that is very soothing physically, as well as soothing emotionally, mentally, and for your nervous system overall. This is not at all a strenuous practice. All the poses are going to be done sitting or laying down. I think the most strenuous pose that we'll have is downward facing dog, but there are no standing poses. So really great for flexibility, really great for stress release. Some of the stretches and the poses might be a little bit more geared for intermediate student. But I'll try to make this as all levels as possible. And I'm not using props in this class. If you have blocks at home, you're welcome to grab a hold of them. You might want to use them for a few of the poses. And we're pretty much holding every pose for about 5 breaths or so. So before I get into that, I want to say a great big thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video today. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can access a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. It's really easy to get started. You just need to answer a few questions about your needs and your preferences so that BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist for you. You can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether that's text, chat, phone, or video calls. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If the therapist is not the right fit for you for any reason, you can absolutely switch to a new one, and this will be at no extra cost to you. Right now, you can get 10% off of your first month by going to betterhelp.com/Kassandra. That's betterhelp.com/Kassandra with a K to get that 10% off. You can also just click the link that's down below in the description box. Okay, with that being said, please meet me in child's pose. So let's begin at the back of the mat. Big toes together to touch. Knees go wide, and as you press your hips back towards your heels, you're going to lengthen out and fold on down. And really try to settle and get comfortable here in this first pose. We don't want it to be too intense. We're just getting a feel for our hips and our low back. Noticing where there might be tension in our bodies, and really grounding ourselves down into the earth for this slow and mellow practice. Use your time here as an opportunity to connect with your breath. Inhaling through the nose, maybe counting up to 4 or 5. When you exhale out the nose again for that same count. And about 3 more breaths here. And we'll be shifting from here into our puppy pose stretch. So you can push your hips, lifting them off of your heels, coming back through to all fours. And bring your knees in so they're aligned underneath your hips. And we're going to walk our hands forward, keeping our hips lifted. And this time melting the chest down. And some people like to bring their chin down to the mat, or what I like to do usually is to tuck in slightly so that it's my forehead resting. Choose whichever variation is appropriate for you here. We're not here too long. I just want you to feel the heart melt down towards the mat, drawing your lower belly in, and still finding that same steady breath rhythm in and out through your nose. You might feel this a little bit more into your shoulders and armpits, maybe a little bit more through the upper or mid back. One more big breath in the pose, and we're sliding onto our bellies, coming into Sphinx. So once your hips connect, point through your toes, reach long through your feet, roll your shoulders back, and open through your heart as if you're trying to pull it forward, lightly squeezing your shoulder blades behind you. So really not overstraining ourselves in this practice. And we'll be adding a thigh stretch to this. You can do one of two ways. The more intense variation is to keep Sphinx pose, and you're going to be bending your right knee, reaching back with your right hand as you pull your heel in. If you feel this compress in your lower back, instead you're just going to let yourself come down to the mat and then work on pulling your heel in towards the glute this way. So either with or without a back bend, but I want you to feel this nice thigh stretch. You'll need to push into your pubic bone a little bit as you lengthen your tailbone towards the back of your mat so that you're really creating space through that lower spine, not causing any pinching. And we'll switch to the other side. So either with or without the back bend, you're bringing your left foot in, trying to bring that left heel towards the glute. Keep pushing that left hip bone down so you're not rolling over onto one side. And let's release, pressing back, hands and knees, tabletop pose. Finding a low lunge variation here, you're going to bring your right foot forward to the top of the mat and just come up onto your fingertips here. My knee is over my ankle. I'm melting my hips forward and down. I'm rolling my shoulders back, down, and away from the ears. And letting gravity pull my hips down a little bit more. So physically releasing tension so that we can better access and release any mental and emotional tension as well. Push into your right heel so you can shift your hips back. Ardha Hanumanasana, a variation of our half splits. You're welcome to just hold here. I like to bring my hips all the way down onto my left foot and make this a passive forward fold. So I'm letting my spine naturally round. I'm getting a nice opening through the back of our right leg. And gently stretching along our spine as well in this forward fold. Making it really nurturing and passive so there's no excess tension or strength being used. And if you were in the variation that I'm in, you need to lift your head and chest up first. Come back so that your hips are lifted And we're all going to be bending into our right knee. I want you to make sure you have your knee over your ankle, and we're doing a side low lunge. So I'm going to pivot so that I have my back foot. The toes are now going to point towards the long edge of the mat. Both of my hips, both of my shoulders, everything is facing towards the left side. You can bring your left hand to your hip, right hand to the inside of that right knee, maybe pushing it open a little bit more. And you're trying to sink your hips down. Maybe see if you can close your eyes, focusing inward. Push into your right foot, straighten the right leg, and you're going to turn that right foot in so it's parallel to the top of the mat. Gate pose, left arm reaches up and over. Big side body stretch here. And continue to circle that left hand all the way down. Roll, pivot onto that right heel and face the front of your mat again here. Bending into that front knee, let's make our way into pigeon pose. So you're going to walk and crawl that right foot over towards the left side of your mat so that you bring your right knee somewhere behind your right wrist. I have my shin kind of parallel to the top of the mat, but that might not work for you at home. So feel free to have your heel closer in towards the groin and do your pigeon pose this way. One option is not better than the other. It really just depends on how your hips are feeling and also just your anatomy in general. So make sure you're not rocking your weight on one hip more than the other. And I like to find a little back bend first by kind of pushing into my legs to open up through the chest, rolling shoulders back, squeezing your shoulder blades behind you, and then folding all the way down. Holding pigeon pose for about 5 breaths or so. Trying to get really comfortable here. See if you can relax your shoulders, your arms, your upper back, your neck. Just melting into the floor. Take one more big breath right here. And using arm strength, you can push into the floor to start to lift up. We're going to come into deer pose from here. So just let yourself rock onto that right hip and you can bend your left knee. So I have 2 90-degree angles with my knees here, and I'm going to wrap and press that left hip back as I walk my hands back here. So we're looking for some kind of sensation through that inner left thigh and through the left hip. A big internal hip rotation. And you can flex the feet as well. Just kind of walking back in a diagonal. Now walk the hands back in. Facing forward, let's find downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana, our first one. So really take your time here. Hands shoulder width distance apart. Feet are hip width distance apart as you step back and really aim to create space through this pose. So where can you lengthen a little bit more? Try to think of each joint. So can you lengthen from your wrists to your elbows, from your elbows to your shoulders, from your shoulders all the way down to your tailbone, really stretching through each vertebrae as you curl your tailbone up, extending and lengthening through the back of your legs. Let's reach our right leg up towards the sky. Bend your right knee. Open up your hip. Three-legged dog. Set that right foot down. Switch sides. Left leg up. Bend your left knee. Open up your hip. And set it down, tabletop pose, and we'll repeat this sequence over on the second side, starting with our low lunge, a variation of Anjaneyasana, where we keep our fingers down towards the mat. Press your hips forward and down. No tension in your neck here. Now let's go ahead and push our heel into the ground so we can shift our hips back, choosing your variation of this hamstring stretch, either staying up nice and high and working on the fold from here, or letting your hips rest on that right heel and folding. Letting your spine round. I'm turning my palms facing up so that I'm not pushing or pulling, forcing my way into any kind of shape. You might notice that one side feels very different from the other. This is not something that needs to be judged or even necessarily corrected. It's good to be aware of it. And try to just meet your body where it is, not trying to force the same experience to happen on each side. Adjust however you need to. And if you were folded like what I'm doing here now, start by uncurling, lifting head and shoulders back up, and we'll lift our hips off of that heel so we can all come back to having a deep bend into that front knee for our side low lunge. You're going to pivot so that you have your right toes pointing towards the left side of your mat. And then go ahead and lift on up. So my body, the chest is facing over towards the right side of the mat. Right hand to your hip, left hand to the inside of your knee to help push and open it wider as you press and sink your hips down. This is a bit similar to a warrior two stance. We have our back knee grounded. Into your gate pose, straighten that left leg, turn the left toes in, and you're going to reach your right arm up and over. You can slide your left hand down the leg for support. Big side body stretch here from the right fingertips to your right hip. And look down towards the mat. Continue to circle that right hand down. Lift the left toes off the ground. And we're going to make our way into our pigeon pose from here. So you can just kind of wiggle that left foot over to the side and bring your left knee somewhere behind your left hand. Remember, you might have your heel closer in towards you, or you might have a bit more of a parallel shin to the top of the mat. Let's find a little back bend first. You can push your hands into that leg to lift. Really arching back. You should be able to deeply breathe in and out through your nose. No breath restriction here. And then fold over. Think of stretching out of your lower back so you're not compressing or shortening here as you fold. 5 slow, steady breaths. So we're moving slowly with our bodies. Just notice if your brain is really active right now, if you have a lot of thoughts, if you're daydreaming or just jumping from one thought to the other. It's no big deal if that's what's happening. As much as possible, just try to anchor your awareness back to your breath or back to the physical sensations in your body. Maybe just focus on your left hip. That can be a really simple but powerful way not to get too distracted. And we'll be coming into our deer pose, so you can lift your head and chest back up, and you're going to lean on that left hip and left glute now, so kind of just roll over onto it, and you're going to bend your right knee, so you have two 90-degree angle bends in your legs here, and I'm going to press and roll my right hip back, and I'm walking back in a diagonal here until I get a nice stretch through that inner right thigh. It doesn't totally matter what your left leg is doing. We're focusing a lot more on the right leg right now through that deep internal hip rotation. Not something we tend to do a lot of in yoga. And we're going to find our downward dog again from here. Take your time. You're going to step the feet back, hands shoulder width distance apart. Again, can you lengthen a little bit more? And now let's come forward into plank pose just so we can transition and lower onto our stomachs. So come all the way down. And you're going to do little spider fingers, like a wider variation of cobra, where you bring your hands off the mat towards the top corners of the mat and keep your elbows lifted up as you push your hands into the ground and really lift and extend here. Push into the tops of the feet. Think of pulling your heart forward. And release all the way down. Press your hips back towards your heels. Bring your left hand back behind you. We're going to circle and reach that right arm up and over. Press and lift your hips up. Kind of like a variation on camel pose. And circle it back down. Second side. Right hand down. Left arm reaches up and over. And release. Just take a moment here. Stay resting on your heels. Stack your palms on your lap. Close your eyes. And breathing a little bit more softness. And we'll come back into our wide-legged child's pose. I want you to notice if it feels any different than the first time you did it. You might be able to open the knees up a little bit wider. Walk your hands forward. Melt on down. Five breaths here. Try to relax your belly even more. And let's walk our hands back in. And we're going to slow things down even more. Let's come down, Supta Baddha Konasana, a reclined bound angle or reclined butterfly pose. So lower onto your back, soles of the feet together, knees apart. And you can have your hands on your belly or by your sides or even up overhead. Closing your eyes. Coming into happy baby from here. Draw your knees in towards your chest. Keep them open wide. And maybe just hang out here with full expression of the pose, grabbing a hold of the big toes, stacking your ankles over your knees. Push your tailbone into the floor so you're not lifting your seat off the mat. And really relax through your neck and your head. Stay heavy and grounded here. And I'm just giving this as an option if you like it. You can also do another variation where you straighten the legs or maybe just straighten one at a time. If it's too much, leave it out. I like to rock a little side to side. And releasing back down, coming into a reclined twist. You can keep your right knee in towards your chest and extend your left leg out. Push into that left heel, and then you're going to cross your right thigh over to the left. Reach your right arm out. See if you can keep your right shoulder blade in contact with the floor. It might lift up a little, which is fine. Or as much as possible, encourage it to press down. Coming back through to center. Before we do this on the other side, just hold on to the back of your right thigh and see if you can straighten that right leg. Start by flexing your right foot and then pointing through your toes and just alternating and doing this a few times. Flexing and pointing. And we'll release, switching sides. Pull your left knee in towards your belly. Keep that right leg extended out on the mat, pushing your right heel into the floor. And we're going to twist so your left knee crosses over your body towards the right. And reach your left arm out, collarbones facing up. Trying to stack your left hip over your right one. Releasing this twist. Hold on to the back of your thighs. Stretch that left leg up. And flex into your left foot. And then point through your toes. And just go back and forth between the two. Another area that can really get neglected. One more. And let's release. We are coming to Shavasana, our final resting pose. Take up some space. Let yourself get comfortable and heavy so that you're really being supported. Closing your eyes. Bringing that focus inward to what is present to you right now. We're not controlling our breath here. Just breathe naturally. And if you notice your mind wandering, or it's just busy and overactive, it can be helpful to focus on the 5 senses. Maybe on what you can hear, what you could smell, what you can taste, what you can feel, and even just what you can see through the back of your eyelids. Spending a few minutes right here. Let's reawaken. Stretch your arms overhead, lengthen it all out. Roll to one side. Come on up to take a seat. Sit up tall, eyes closed, hands at your heart. Closing this slow and mellow practice by chanting Om together one time. Let's inhale to chant. Breathe in. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing this practice with me. I hope you enjoyed it and that you feel a lot more comfortable in your body and just a lot more relaxed overall. Please do leave me a comment before you go. Make sure you subscribe, and hopefully I will be meeting you on the yoga mat very soon.